Well, my loves, we made it. We are on the other side of the solar eclipse, and we didn't dissolve into nothing. Or maybe we did, and we just don't have a recollection of it. Maybe the world did actually end, and where we're living right now is an alternate reality that we are choosing to exist in because the thought of the world actually ending was too much on our system, so we chose this reality instead. Maybe. But I don't know about you. I'm in kind of an eclipse afterglow, regardless of if I'm in the right timeline or not. And I wanted to take this time to help you navigate the new energy, to go a little bit deeper into what I even mean by alternate timelines. What do we do if you still feel like you're moving through it? And what happened to our Earth with this eclipse? Did it actually alchemize and change the frequency of our planet? Let's uncover all the post eclipse juiciness.
Danielle Mercury. It's time for the show. Danielle, welcome to the show. Danielle Mercury. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
So, solar eclipse. If you are living in the United States, or really anywhere for that matter, it was really talked about. And why it was so talked about, right? Like a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, why is this eclipse bigger than other eclipses? Because within our yearly cycle, we tend to have, on average, two eclipse cycles a year. So when I say two, I mean one solar and one lunar eclipse paired together twice a year. Sometimes, depending on how it falls, it could happen 3 times a year. But on average, 2 times a year, we have this cycle. And this one was a little bit more buzz talked about because the solar eclipse was going to be, or was, in a path of totality throughout the United States. So essentially from Maine all the way down through Texas, the solar eclipse would literally be clearing a path through the United States, whereas that doesn't always happen with eclipses. We don't always have total eclipses. Sometimes we have partial eclipses. We don't always have them be visible in the United States. Sometimes they're visible elsewhere. For example, the next time that we will have a solar eclipse with a path of totality will be in 2026. I want to say it's August 12th, 2026, and it will not be in the United States. It'll be, I know Iceland is one of the spots, and I'm like, that would be a really great destination. And then the next time, this is also kind of trippy. Okay, then the next time it's happening in general is August 12th, 2026. And then the next time that it's happening in the United States and we get to have a path of totality is August 12th, 2045. So, kind of interesting. And there was another time that August 12th had a path of totality. But just a little nugget, if you're an August 12th baby, you've got some really cool solar frequency going on or something. Or maybe you're just an alien and we need to study you a little bit more. But essentially, let's go back to this current one that just occurred on April 8th. So it was a solar eclipse, mostly visible within certain areas of the United States. And if you weren't in the path of totality, you were able to see a partial eclipse where it kind of looks like a little crescent moon. It's so cute, right? I was saying on my Instagram stories, I feel like eclipses are like the most adorable thing ever, especially partial ones, because it's just like you see the moon kind of taking this little bite-sized chunk out of the sun. But essentially what's happening with a solar eclipse, and a solar eclipse always happens with the new moon, okay? New moon, solar eclipse, they go together. It will always be in the sun sign that we're in. So this happened on April 8th, Aries season. So the new moon and the sun, both in Aries for the solar eclipse, all goes together. Happening in Aries, there was also an Aries Mercury retrograde. Some other planetary influences were in Aries as well. So Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, fiery, head first, the ram, Kickstarter, entrepreneur. Let's do something different. Let's kick off a new era, a different way of being, another course of action going forward. Okay. So when we have a solar eclipse, essentially what I like to think is happening, regardless of what your visibility is or not, what's happening is the moon somehow is able to implant itself upon the sun. Now, what's interesting is technically the moon and the sun are not the same size, but in this circumstance, in this instance, the moon is able to glide over to the sun and literally make love to it, make sweet, sweet love, and be like, I want a taste of your light. And the sun is like, I want to savor your darkness. And there's this really cool interplay of all of a sudden, it's like the moon is operating as the sun, and the sun is now operating as the moon. It's like the daylight must be interrupted by the feminine, which is the moon. And then the nighttime then has a chance to be lit up by the potential of what the sun, the masculine, has. So it's a little bit of role reversal, but that's what we need, right? Eclipses, in their essence, are about change. And in order for things to change, we have to change the dynamic of how things are going forward. We have to look at certain areas of our life, of our collective, and say, there's chaos here. And in order to unwind the chaos or redirect it, we also have to be chaotic for a moment and do something a little bit out of order. And so the sun and the moon come together in such a way where they are literally swapping roles, swapping some cosmic frequencies, and having a good little time, right? It's a really beautiful, sacred union. And personally, I was able to feel that. So I was on the path of totality in Austin. Now, we did have some cloud coverage where I was, and I'll tell you my whole journey of how my eclipse plans changed very much. But I was essentially just outside of downtown Austin, and we did have some cloud coverage. So it wasn't fully visible as far as like open sky, here it is. But essentially the way that the path lined up where I was, you would get 1 minute and 42 seconds of visibility of this eclipse. And so I grabbed a blanket, took a walk down to a park near my Airbnb, set up my blanket, and pretty much within a few minutes, I kind of timed it that way because I didn't know what the crowds were going to be like. So for me, I wanted to spend more time by myself and then walk to the space. And it timed really nicely because I was also feeling lots of feels in my solar plexus. It was moving in very interesting ways, even waves of nausea. But I'm also a Leo sun, moon rising, and I'm on my moon line right now. So I knew that I was going to be tapping into the lunar energies. So I wanted to give myself space for that. So settle into my blanket. I have my headphones on, have my eclipse playlist going, and, looking up at the clouds, kind of hoping for those little patches so that we could see what we needed to see. And pretty much just like cosmic clockwork, as soon as it was time for the eclipse to begin, it did. And the grooviest part, well, there was a couple of groovy parts. One of the most groovy aspects was, first of all, because there was cloud coverage, I felt like there was less of a need to use glasses. I don't know if that's true or not. We'll see. But I really didn't use my glasses because I was like, the clouds are coming in and out. I feel like the clouds are covering anything that would kind of be, quote unquote, not great for the eyes. And, I did like a little bit of a mix. But regardless, the sky just went dark. Like, dark. It was crazy. I filmed it and I posted it to Instagram. And it's literally just me, like, looking up at the sky. And then the next thing you know, it's nighttime, which was just so wild. And really that onset of nighttime, why it was so cool, because that technically can happen like when a storm is going to come, right? The sky darkens and whatnot. But this was different. It was like the sky is darkening because the moon has literally interlocked with the sun. They are together. They are one. I still get chills thinking about it. They have essentially come together in such a brilliant, unique, rare way. So everything darkens and you just feel it. You feel the union. You feel the Ra, the sun, the Ma, the moon coming together. And as it does, you look up to the sky, at least for me, and I saw like that sliver of light, that beautiful beam of circular sunlight coming through the moon, and the moon was injecting itself or implanting itself into the sun in such a way that it felt like a real reset button. It truly did. And so I was able to view it for the time frame, again, not the full extent, but enough to witness it, and more so, feel it. It was felt. And it was this feeling of bliss, this feeling of contentment, this feeling of being plugged into the earth and calm. And when it technically was over, now technically, eclipse portals last for a while. It's not really a one and done thing. But when the public thought it was done, people started filtering out, leaving the park, and I just chose to be there. I chose to stay. I chose to just relish in it, lay down, keep listening to music, just feel all these beautiful sensations. And there was not only a feeling of calm, but I started to notice within my solar plexus this expansion. It felt like now all of a sudden my solar plexus, which is right at the top of my belly, started expanding horizontally. It started to just almost like reach out its own little chakra arms and make its way across the land. And it was a really cool thing to witness. And I really loved it. And then I came home still feeling lit up. I went to go get food, was like still super buzzed. I'm like, what am I going to do with myself? What am I going to do with this energy? And then I found out Tycho, which is one of my favorite DJ band music situations, was going to be in town. And it was a surprise because they were supposed to be playing at Texas Eclipse Festival, but they had to cancel it early, which meant Tycho needed a place to play. So I got to go to that show, which was really great, a really fun surprise. And things have just been continuing in that fashion. But I'll share more on me later on the episode. I'm feeling this is going to be a long one. But in the meantime, let's go back to what's happening for us. What's happening to you and I as a collective. Okay. So the eclipse has happened. Now that it has happened, and we can kind of remove any fear, any wonderment around it. And look, for some of you, it might have felt like nothing. You might have forgot to even go look. You might not have been in an area where there was totality or partial visibility. You may literally just feel like business as usual. That's fine too. There's no right or wrong way to feel this or navigate it. And the best thing that you can do with any eclipse or any big cosmic transit like this is to release your expectations and be open to what the pathway wants to present you from here on out. Because essentially, when an eclipse happens, it is the reset button, like I said. It also creates a thinner veil. So the veil is thinner between the cosmic and our earthly world. It opens up a portal. And that portal essentially is operating and acting as a holding space or as a vehicle for you to get into the next timeline. So when I say the next timeline, what I mean is the evolution of your life here on this earth. I don't believe that when people talk about a new earth that literally there's a brand new material earth that is forming and like we're literally like going over, but we kind of are in a way, because now I just got shown an image of this. So I just got shown an image of like the earth as we know it, and then this bridge coming out of our earth, and many of us that feel called are walking the bridge into the quote unquote new earth. And so what's happening though is these two earths are operating at the same time. Okay. So the old earth is still functioning and the new earth is still formulating. And so a lot of us are like the in-betweeners. We're the bridgers. Okay. We were born during the bridge of the Piscean age and the Aquarian age. We were born at a time where the world was waking up, but not fully awakened. We were born during a time where there's still a lot of confusion and chaos, and the hope is that we get to collective harmony. And so what I will say with that also, though, there's more than one bridge to the new Earth. There's not just one big bridge. That would cause a lot of traffic, honestly, and I'm not here for that. So just like many of us live in different towns, different cities, I feel like there's also many different bridges depending on what frequency we're on, where we're at, what we're here to do, our mission, etc. So individuals choosing to kind of stay in the 3D matrix of our Earth, and there's nothing wrong with that. This is part of the process, okay? There's no judgment here. Those are individuals that are going to just kind of keep doing their things. They may not be meant to wake up in this life. Totally fine. That being said, you may notice that if you do feel like, Danielle, I'm one of the bridge walkers, like I definitely crossed some kind of bridge during this eclipse, or I know that I have been, or I know that I'm about to, you may start to lessen your interactions with certain people or situations naturally. Do you ever feel like, oh my gosh, this relationship just doesn't work anymore? We see life differently. I'm not excited to hang out with them. I feel a little bit drained. I feel like I'm held back. I feel like I'm suppressed. And once again, this isn't judgment. And this isn't to say that maybe that person that you're thinking about won't catch on and eventually cross the bridge over to you. But you have to realize, like, we're in a space of advancement right now. Advancement is the priority. And if you continue to wait around and try to get somebody else on board with your advancement so then you can walk over the bridge together, it's kind of a disservice. What you have to realize is that your advancement is a priority right now. And as you advance forward, as you cross through your bridge, the right people will stay with you and more people are going to come in that are going to be in a greater alignment, which then help your mission of why you're here. We have to realize that. We have to trust that. And we have to not look at it not working out with certain people or places anymore as rejection. It's not rejection if you're no longer on the same page as someone. It's not rejection if it's not working out. It's not rejection if someone's holding you back and you have to move on. It's advancement. Okay? It's not rejection, it's redirection. And I know that's a hard thing to swallow sometimes, but essentially what's happening right now is as you accept this advancement, you are then being brought and put into the alignment of the highest path possible for you. We always have a position to be in the highest path possible. It's up to us, though, to allow that frequency to ensue. It's up to us to recognize if we have the bandwidth for it. It's up to us to make choices to say, do I want to keep entertaining these older narratives, these tired circumstances, these no longer aligned relationships? Or do I just want to be on the highest path already? You know, we say that we want more abundance, we want this, we want that, we want to manifest. Well, it's hard to manifest if you don't let the universe put you on the highest path. When you put yourself on the highest path, you cross the bridge that not only advances you into the new earth, it accelerates what it is that you quote unquote need. The standards that you crave in this life are a match to what you have the capacity for and also what you're here to do. They go hand in hand in a lot of ways. And so I want you to recognize that. So we crossed over these bridges when the eclipse happened. We're still doing it. People are still crossing, you know, basically up until the full moon that's happening on April 23rd in Scorpio. We're just going to keep crossing. We're just a lot of bridge crossers going on right now. And you know, as I was saying that like the old earth will still operate coinciding with this new earth, some people will just kind of be almost like foreign to you, or like for better or worse, like think about like when you're at the grocery store. You ever like shop through the grocery store and you just, there's some people you literally don't pay attention to? Like you're probably not looking at every single person. Why is that? Because they're not relevant. And I say that with love, but they're not, right? Like it's not relevant for you to look at every single person in the grocery store or figure out who everybody at the grocery store is. You're there to be in the grocery store, do your thing. Maybe you see someone you know in the grocery store and you say hi. Maybe you see someone that catches your eye and you're like, oh, hello. Fancy seeing you here in the meat aisle. You interact with the cashier, right? there are individuals that you will interact with that you probably won't engage with every single person in the entire grocery store, and you probably can't recount everybody that's in there. That's kind of what we're doing here on Earth. We're not going to be able to account for everybody. We're not going to see everybody. Just like even like your Instagram or social media account, you don't follow every single human, do you? Do you literally follow billions of people? No, that would be overwhelming. Who do you follow? You follow people that feel like a similar wavelength. That's all that's happening here. And then the people that you're not following, it's just like, yeah, it's not my vibe. No big deal. And that's essentially what we're doing with this kind of quote unquote new Earth. And when I say new Earth, you're not more elite for advancing over there. It just happens to be where you are in your journey, happens to be the life that you volunteered to be a bridge walker. Cool, right? Everyone gets a turn at different times. There were times where you were ignorant to it all too. So there's that piece. And I do believe that we're walking different bridges because we all need to land in different spaces as well. We also can't all gather in the same space. We can't. We can have moments where there's festivals or conferences or opportunities where we can come from all different places to do that, but we couldn't do that on a regular basis because then we would get too niche down and we wouldn't be helping the collective. We have to be out in the collective, okay? So all of us are walking bridges to different pockets, different communities, different towns, so that we can bring our advanced way forward to help harmonize all of these different places. And the more that we can kind of harmonize our own little nooks and crannies, then the more the Earth gets to harmonize and recalibrate as a whole. So we kind of have to look at it that way. Now, don't get me wrong, you may feel called to go to hubs where there's more like-minded people. It just depends on your circumstances and what you need. Part of why I chose to be in Austin is for that reason. I will admit that. But it's also where I am in my life. I'm a single entrepreneur, and I wanted to be somewhere where there are other or single entrepreneurs that were interested in tech, that were interested in spirituality, where there was a music scene. I was looking at my standards and what I required at this slice of my life, and it did feel like being in Austin was the right move, and I still feel that. So it doesn't mean that you have to go to a small one-lane town, but it also doesn't mean that you have to go to a really big one either. So you'll know. That's the thing. I think that's what it comes down to. It's like taking the pressure off yourself of where am I supposed to go? Where is the bridge taking me? And just start to let yourself be led, which is really something that I encourage you to do from this point on. Following this eclipse happening in Aries, will you let yourself be led? Now more than ever, the universe is able to guide us and take us. However, you have to be on board with it. If you're still sitting around and being passive, if you're just laying there, how is the universe going to help you? As opposed to standing up, living your life, contributing accordingly, and see what happens when you do. So often I work with clients that are always like, I'm so stuck, I don't know how. And I'm like, well, are you out there doing it? No. Are you out there talking about it? No. Have you started any kind of practice? No. Okay, well then of course you don't know how. You got to work it if you want it to work. If you want things to work out, how are you outworking it? But I don't know how. Just start. Just start. And I promise you more things will come together. And there are resources out there. I'm a fan of ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT. Be like, this is where I am in my life and I'm really stuck and I don't know how. Provide some examples of me getting started. I really want this to work, but I don't know how to work it out. Help. And it will give you some steps. Not going to do it for you, but it'll give you some steps. And then you start working those steps and then you get more clarity and you go from there. That's how things are operating going forward. That's what I really like about where we are. And some of you still may be in it, still may be navigating. The eclipse prior to this was the Libra lunar eclipse, which was really focused on relationships, balance. How are you finding that sweet spot of ebb and flow in your life? How are you feeling really good about who you are and where you stand in this lifetime so that you can move and shift things forward in the ways that this Aries ascendance and advancement is moving forward? Another thing that some of you might be going through is this idea of having to move through the lesson. Okay, let's talk about lesson. I was thinking about that because I just had to move through a lesson. And I was like, in my meditation, and I was like, okay, I just went through it again, just learned another lesson. What does lesson mean anyway? And then I was like, wait a minute, lesson. A lesson is an opportunity to lessen your load. A lesson is an opportunity for you to see what is no longer needed. A lesson is things that are less on you going forward because you've released them. So what in your life is something that you were feeling like you were less than? Or was there someone in your life that was treating you like you were less than? Or is there something that you no longer want to have on you anymore? So now there is less on you so that you can move forward. A lesson is really lessening what was creating stress for you and creating space. Oh, so a lesson is a good thing, right? We all know that. But what if a lesson was literally to lessen the stress, to help you find relief so that you can cultivate space and move forward with opportunities as need be? Ooh, we like that, don't we? We like it so much, I'm going to take some water. Okay, so you might still be in the lesson, looking to see what is less than what you're here for, what you would like to lessen in your life. Or you might be feeling really good, like, Danielle, I feel you. I feel like I did walk over that bridge. I feel like I am like cultivating and recognizing that I'm part of the future framework. Great. No matter where you are, we are in a portal, a juicy time to set intentions. And when we're setting intentions, we're doing it with the release of expectations, because one of the things that's going to be the downfall with a lot of new age stuff is trying to manifest in a very specific way. Because what we're going to be called to do is going to be very unique and very specific to you and your unique ways of showing up. So if that's the case, it's less about give me this or I want that. It's about releasing any expectations and leaning into the feelings and the sensations, knowing how much money needs to land in your space, knowing how you can best utilize your voice, knowing what kind of people you want to be around, knowing what the home space looks like, knowing that you are taken care of. Those things are going to be more important. And it's more about utilizing I am statements. Let's not do the I want. If you say to the universe, I want more money, it'll say, cool. You are someone that wants more money. I will make sure that you stay that archetype. I will make sure that you exist in the world as someone that wants money, and I will keep giving you opportunities to make you feel like you want money. Okay? Is that what you want? Or do you want to say, I am someone that has more than enough money always? I am someone that is abundant AF. I am someone that pays my bills on time and still has more money left over. I am someone that's able to walk in that grocery store and buy everything I want. I am someone that is open and free financially. And yours is like, yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. And it will do that for you. So when we're setting intentions, I really want to do with the I am, not the I want or the I need. Because the I need, the I want is a very human 3D lower vibration type of affirmation, and the universe will just play into that. And it will just allow you to continue on that 3D narrative. Or you can go into a higher realm. I am, ascended master, right? We're going into mastery of manifestation to then move things forward. And we have to hold the space for it, because a lot of times it doesn't always happen overnight. It can, but we have to release the expectation on the timeline. We are in a timeline of advancement. Let that be enough. Know that the timeline you're in is advancing forward and will continuously meet you where you're at. You are supported in this timeline. So if that's the case, you can be in this without strain or grip or control. And you can release the expectations and just know that you are being taken care of in the framework that you desire in this portal that we're in. And so as we release old patterns, because I feel like a lot of our older patterns are also being released. If you're still going through it, you might still be in a pattern. If you're feeling pretty open and feeling really good about where you're going, some more plans could come into place. For me, let's go back to what I went through this past weekend. I had to release a really big pattern so that the universe could resume its highest plans for me. I had been dating someone on and off when I was living in Greenville, really, really cared for him, really felt connected and appreciated him as someone in my life. And we had planned on he was going to come for the eclipse, which I was so excited about, excited to see him, excited to do all the awesome things, have a visitor. By the way, I love having a visitor. It's like the most fun to look forward to it, to plan for it, to also be open to doing whatever we want, right? Like, and then this is anything, like lover, friend, dad, which actually my dad is coming to visit in a couple of weeks, which I'm very excited about. I'm pretty sure that's part of the plan. So anyway, was looking forward to it. But that being said, this was a dynamic where we also kind of agreed when I left Greenville that we would just keep it open, because I was pretty set on, as long as Austin works out, that it would be my home. And this person was pretty set on staying where they were. So if that's the case, it's like, okay, let's just see what happens while I'm gone and then reassess for the eclipse. And that's really how I was feeling. As I was leading up to the eclipse, I was like, okay, like this is going to be the opportunity to really see, like, is this part of my plan going forward? Or is it someone that held a place in my life, but no longer has a place, so to speak, because we are not in the same place, right? So essentially, starting to get closer, and my intuition was starting to feel like, ooh, I don't know if this is going to happen. And not in a like me trying to make the worst case scenario or my anxiety. It was literally my intuition. My intuition was just like, I don't know about this. I don't know if it's going to work out. This isn't, it was just that feeling of intuitive knowing that this may not come together. And lo and behold, found out that this person had a work situation that prevented him from coming. And it was kind of like that feeling of like, okay, I see this. I'm observing this. I'm upset about this. I'm disappointed about this. I'm sad about this. I'm relieved about this. I'm exhausted about this. There were a lot of different things. And it was actually interesting too, right before it happened, I had just moved into my new Airbnb. So I'm sold on Austin, but it didn't make sense for me to just like rent a place randomly. I'm so glad I did not do that, because I wanted to try out the different neighborhoods. I also knew I didn't want to stay for summer when it's really hot. So there was like no point in like renting a place. And so to just do Airbnb instead. So this is all leading up to the eclipse. Okay. So we're leading up to the eclipse. I'm feeling unsure about this dynamic. I also listened to the podcast with my sister podcast, Unfiltered Universe. I did a little procedure on my nose that made it super red. So I was feeling a little insecure about that. Again, listen to Unfiltered Universe and you'll hear that story. But we're leading up to, the eclipse, leading up to my friend's visit. And I'm moving Airbnb. So the Airbnb, my other one I had till Friday. This new one I had to move into on Saturday. So this is the Saturday leading up to Monday's eclipse. And, packing up, kind of feeling the feels like I was ready to leave this other Airbnb. But, at the same time, it's a process. Pack things up. We just got a sense of order. I had my dog Zara and we were kind of getting into a groove. So there were some feels with that. But then, come to the next Airbnb and I realized, which I did not realize, and I am, for anyone that knows me, I am so good with Airbnb as far as finding them, as far as scouring the listings, as far as reading the reviews. I think I have an episode about it in the archives here, or collection, whatever you want to call it. That being said, I did not realize that the owner, so I knew that she lived on the property, like in the guest house behind the main house. I have the main house, but I did not know she had a dog. And my dog, Zara, is very reactive around other dogs when I'm with her. She's fine at daycare or with other people, but when it's me, she's protective, she's reactive. We've tried working on it. You know, she's going to be 12. She's a rescue. It's one of those things I've just come to accept. If I had known that there would be a dog that I'd be sharing the yard with, there's no way I would have booked this place. Not only is there the dog that the owner has, the next door neighbor has a dog that loves to come over and play in the backyard. So that was doubly a lot for Zara. So I was like, oh no, how are we going to do this? And then that's all happening. And I'm just like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this. And then just kind of getting my bearings with the new house, not really hearing from my friend, feeling like something was up. And then it's time to go to bed Saturday. And a huge storm comes to be. And this huge storm whacks the tree next to the house on the roof above my bedroom. So all I'm hearing is this whacking and scraping of the tree branch. I'm thinking about what's going on with my friend's visit. I'm worried about the dogs with Zara. I'm wondering, am I even going to get a refund? How am I going to ever sleep? How am I going to get work done? What is going on with my life? Like, it was literally probably one of the top 10 worst sleeps of my life. Hands down. I was a mess. I tried taking a gummy, didn't even matter. Like, tried to put on music, headphones. Like, I was wide awake. I maybe slept 10 minutes. So, moved through all of that. And after moving through all of that, I get the text, from my friend being like, hey, I'm not going to make it. And I'm just like, okay, there's my answer. This is the answer that I needed. And further, there were some patterns and things with that dynamic with that individual that I know weren't the best for me. And I'm just talking about myself here and talking about my own behaviors and my own history and my own past. And I really felt in that moment, sleep deprived, disappointed, upset, wondering, what am I going to do now that, I don't have any plans anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what's going on with this Airbnb, right? Like, it's all just kind of like on me. And I recognize that regardless of how this is all going to pan out, because it always does, and I knew that it would, and I really tried not to lean into the victim mentality and more so into the like, I am figuring this out. And from that space of I am figuring this out, I really, really and truly recognized you got to release this pattern. You can't keep living out scenarios, especially in your dating life, in this way anymore. And if you can release this pattern, and this is what I heard from my guides, we promise you we will resume your life with a better plan. And so I spent pretty much the rest of the day. I dropped because I was supposed to board my dog. So I didn't know what to do with that. And I didn't want to lose the money. So I brought her over to Doggy Hauser. We love them. And I literally get there and they're the first human contact I have for that day. And this is all happening Sunday now, Sunday before the eclipse. And I drop Zara off at Doogie Hauser. Speaking of Zara, I don't know. Zara, what are you doing? What are you doing? She was trying to eat something under a chair. This is an older home, so she's always finding these little nooks and crannies to sniff and smell. Huh? Yes, we're talking about you and how I took you to Doogie Hauser. So I took her to Doogie Hauser, or Doggy Hauser. And as soon as I see the person that I just start weeping, I was like, I'm so sorry. And she was like, it's okay. It's sad. It's always sad to leave your dog. And I'm like, no, it's not that. I'm like, I was supposed to have someone come visit and they couldn't make it. And now I don't know what to do. And I know that I signed up to board her, but if I don't want to board her, how much is that going to cost? Are there fees? And she was just like, it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to bring her. We will waive any penalty. We get it. We understand. And I was like, oh, thank you. So then I was like, why don't you just take her for now? and then we'll reassess. Like maybe she'll just wind up doing daycare, or maybe I will want to board her. Like I didn't know what I was feeling or what I would need. And I was like, maybe I just need to be alone. Maybe the thing is, it's not like I could go take a road trip or something because traffic was going to be wild with people coming in and out for the eclipse. So left her at daycare, went to go for like kind of a walk, sat in a tree for a while, and just got more confirmation, from my person that was going to visit that it's not going to work out. And just felt really depleted, really sad, really like, where do I go from here? And I felt this like deep sense of loneliness, this deep sense of unworthiness, this deep sense of feeling like, what have I done? What am I doing? Where do I go from here? And so I just kind of sat with it for a while, really leaned into, I got to take this 1 minute at a time. And so did that for a little bit, then realized I was starving, went and got a bagel, shout out to Rockstar Bagels, and then just literally like cried, called some friends, and just started to look at, once again, my patterns around this and certain dynamics of how I show up in relationships and how and I'm not going to fully get into it in this episode, but certain dynamics of my inner child, certain dynamics with my parents that warped how I view relationships. And upon seeing that, and upon seeing, the attraction with this other person, it started to bring me, again, relief. It started to bring me the recognition, the understanding that it's safe to let go of this pattern, that I don't have to live this way. Even and the hardest part was like, I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know what am I going to do tonight? What am I going to do tomorrow for the eclipse, right? It was like a strange sensation. But I did know that I wanted Zara back. But before I could get Zara back, I was like, I need to talk to the Airbnb owner. So I wrote her a message and I just said, hey, here's the situation. I did not know you had a dog. And I'm telling you, like, it was hidden. It was under safety. So like if you scroll down the bottom of the listing, it says safety in it. And you see like fire alarm, carbon monoxide thingamajig. And then when it says show more, it's like dog on property. And I'm like, wait, what? And it wasn't in reviews. It wasn't a listing. Anyway, so I made that clear. I was like, it is not obvious that you have a dog. If I had known that, I don't think I would have booked this place. Further, don't love that the other dog comes in too. And not a big fan of the tree hitting the roof when it rains or is windy. Like, that's not going to fly. If we can't get this resolved, what does it look like as far as cancellation goes? Because technically your policy is like, I'm done. Like, like with Airbnb, sometimes the cancellation policies are really strict. So she writes back pretty quickly and she was like, I already talked to the neighbor. They're going to put the gate on their fence so the other dog can't come over. And she's like, maybe there's something we can do, because the two back doors of the Airbnb are glass and see into the backyard. So she's like, maybe there's something we can do where we can like cover up the back doors so that way your dog doesn't see my dog, and like you basically love the front yard. We'll keep the backyard. I'm like, okay, I'm down with that. And then she's like, I'm talking to my neighbor right now. He's going to help chop down any tree branches that might be getting in the way of your house. So I'm like, okay, great. She comes over, we make like this like chair fort with blankets, but honestly, it's been a few days now and it's been working great. Zara has not noticed the dog in the backyard. We've been fine using the front yard. It doesn't block any extra light. So that worked out great. The guy with the tree branches, he's actually coming pretty soon. So hopefully it's not while I'm recording this. And she was like, look, if it still doesn't work out for you, we can talk about a refund. She's like, I'm not going to charge you to stay somewhere you're uncomfortable. So I was like, thank you. Thank you for that support. Zara's doggy houser, like they didn't, so I wound up picking her up. They just charged me for a half day, which was like amazing, as opposed to, 3 days of boarding, grooming, cuddle time, all that. Like they waived all of it, which I just really appreciated. And then same with the Airbnb owner, just being flexible with me. It was like, oh, right. When you sink in and accept the way things are and don't try to manipulate them or fix them or go back to the old pattern, life can resume accordingly in your favor. And so it did. And then what did I do? I don't even remember. I picked up Czar, and then I don't know what I did Sunday night. It feels like a blur. Maybe watch Vanderpump Rules. Went to bed at like 9 o'clock, slept 9 hours straight, woke up for the eclipse, felt really good. Went to go view the eclipse, had the experience we talked about. Then got to go see Tycho. Then yesterday, also random magical day. Finished unpacking the Airbnb, getting it in order. I'm definitely planning to stay here. It's all like set up in the way that feels really good to me. I got my crystals and all that good stuff going. My desk, got the windows set up accordingly. But the windows are important to me and lighting. Clothes unpacked, organized, all the things. Got to hang out with my friend Leah for dinner, and then she was like, "Are you doing anything later?" I was like, "No, I'm flowy." And she's like, "Well, there's a party, if you're into it, that I was going to go to." I was like, "Let's go." So we get in the car to go to the party, and she's like, "It's a little bit outside the city." I'm like, "All right, cool. No big deal." So we're driving outside Austin. We're going like southwest. And I'm like, this is kind of near my Airbnb that I had in 2021. So if you don't know, in 2021, I moved to Austin in the spring thinking that it was going to be my home. I literally on day 2 broke my foot, got a concussion, had to be on bed rest for a month. And at the time I was staying in this cottage 20 minutes outside Austin in the southwest area. And the reason why I picked that location, it was still pandemic-y. So I didn't want like to be in like a apartment building or like too close to downtown. And also Airbnbs were more expensive during that time, so I was having trouble finding something in my price range. So I found this like cottage, which wound up working out because if you're going to be on bed rest, might as well just be in a cottage on a big open space of land, so you can heal and recover. Right, very Moonline. And we're driving to this place, and I'm like, wait, we're getting closer and closer to where my Airbnb was. We literally turn almost down the same road. And I'm like, what is going on here? And I looked on a map. Literally, my Airbnb was like one road behind where this party was. The one that I had in 2021. The one where I was literally on bed rest for a month. The one where I celebrated spring equinox and cracked eggs into the soil. The one where I literally had to surrender. The one where I felt in many ways suppressed and didn't know how to navigate the pandemic. And to be completely honest, I'm still just getting my footing with my freedom again. And one of my intentions for this eclipse was freedom and joy. And so to then land upon this party, and this wasn't just any party, it was a lot of people that went to the Texas Eclipse Festival, kind of like a Burning Man community. But this guy's house, he was going through like, he got a divorce 10 years ago. So picture a dude with money, moving through a divorce, pimping out his house. This place had crystals everywhere, secret rooms and doors that opened up. There was catered food, outside, big dance floor, DJ station. He built in a river. There was an observation deck, sauna, hot tub, cold plunge, swing set. And then I could see the land that connected to where my Airbnb was. And I was just like, what is going on, right? So I'm feeling still like high and buzzed from the eclipse itself, because again, we're still in the portal and we can still utilize and activate this energy, which I'm going to teach you how to in a moment. And so I was like, I'm going to work with this. And while this was all happening, there was also a major lightning storm happening. So the lightning's going off in the background and I'm just stepping and sinking into the wet earth barefoot. And as I do, as I sink into this land that once held me, I didn't know I was going to cry. This land that once held me at a very vulnerable time in my life, where I was very single. I didn't even have baby Zara. I didn't know the concept of home. I felt really scared to be seen during that time. I felt like people viewed me as irresponsible. I was able to recalibrate that and finally release it. And I didn't know how much I needed that. And if my friend had come to visit, I would not have had that experience. I wouldn't have experienced the eclipse in the way that I did. I wouldn't have gone to go see Tycho. I mean, maybe we would have went, but I know that we wouldn't have met with my friend Leah. And I know that we wouldn't have gone to this party. And I know that I would have been in a very different energetic state. And so what I know for sure is that when you release your patterns, when you are willing to proceed without expectations, the universe resumes plans and aligns you to your highest timeline and pathway. That being said, you have to kind of use your spiritual discernment to move along with it. And that's what I realized I had to do. So I stepped out onto that wet earth. I noticed when the lightning was coming in and out. And I worked with that dynamic, with those energetics to recalibrate, to restore, to alkaline in such a way that the pathway from that spring of 2021 to the spring of 2024 felt repaired, restored, renewed. I feel prime and available for everything right now. I really do. I recognize the space that had to be created for the miracles to move forward. I recognize that this energy has the power to completely change your life, but you have to be a willing participant. You have to say no more to the things and the circumstances that just continuously cause you pain, that are making you guess on a reoccurring basis, that don't feel like real fun and games, but like a game you don't want to play. I realized like for the past few years, I've been playing a game that I didn't even want to participate in. It's like growing up when I decided to do soccer because everyone's doing soccer. And I was like, I don't like soccer. So luckily after a season, my parents were like, yeah, you don't have to keep doing soccer, but you do have to keep doing swimming, which is fine. I like swimming. But really, like, I'm like, I have been participating in a game I never wanted to play, but I've been forcing myself and trying. And I want you to look at any areas in your life that might feel like that. Where are you playing a part or playing a role in a game or in a dynamic that isn't natural to you, that doesn't feel good, that isn't actually fun? Or it's like fun for a moment when you like figure it out, right? Like that's the thing. It'd be like fun when I figured it out for a moment and I got a little bit of success or a little bit of reward, or I, reached quote unquote that goal. But it wasn't enough and it hasn't been sustainable and it hasn't been bringing me the full capacity of joy. And that's really what I want. I want joy. I want fun. I want freedom. I want music. I want aliveness. So I had that beautiful opportunity to do that last night. And then, now I'm talking to all of you. It's pretty groovy, right? If you need more personal support also, I'm offering a one-on-one 35-minute, very easy Post Eclipse session where I will hold space for you, where we'll unpack the nucleus of what's happening, and we'll bring in some astrological intel as well to help you navigate how to move forward. The link for that is in my bio. But further, let's talk about what you can continue to do. And hopefully it's clicking for you hopefully it's clicking for you in a way, what was the word I was trying to use? Hopefully it's clicking for you in a way that feels natural. That's what I was trying to say. In a way that feels natural for you to kind of understand how to navigate this forward. What I will say is May is juicy. Okay, May is juicy. So we just got to move through the rest. And when I say got to move through, I mean it in like a loving way. We're, moving through these next few weeks. We're still in the eclipse portal until the full moon in Scorpio. We still have Mercury retrograde until the 25th. So we're still in a process of redirection, redefining, repositioning. So we have to allow that to happen. And unfortunately, as we allow that to happen, sometimes the things that we thought brought us love or joy or fun or whatever it may be don't come with, or may feel like we're being rejected by it. But rejection is kind of the king of retrogrades. So rejection is redirection, my love. And I promise you, just from my past couple days, the plans that have come into place by releasing the patterns have been really lovely. And it doesn't minimize still some of the stickiness of my mind from everything that happened, but it definitely helps alleviate, right? So recognize May has some juice, especially with Jupiter moving into Gemini. I think we need that playfulness, that curiosity. And in addition to that, just like we feel the eclipse, our planet Earth feels the eclipse as well. And it really feels like, especially in the United States, where the path of totality was, it really recalibrated the grid. The planet is still adjusting right now, but essentially the eclipse unearthed advanced potentials. Like I said, we are right now in a portal where we are on a pathway of advancement. If that's the case, the Earth mirrors that as well. So the Earth is also churning over unnecessary things, and we may be feeling that. We may be feeling that through severe weather, tornadoes, thunderstorms, fire. Because what's happening is the Earth is also responding to this. The earthquakes, right? Like all of this is the recalibration of the Earth. And within our Earth are these grids. I encourage you to check out the past episode if you're curious about grid lines and whatnot. But essentially, our grid lines have been reworked with this eclipse, especially the grid lines of the locations that were on the path of totality. So me being in Austin, it was reworked. And the fact that we have been having thunderstorms and lightning and wind ever since, that does not surprise me. It's almost as if the eclipse opened up this alternate gateway for the grids to go, and the magnetism, the electromagnetic frequencies of the eclipse are shifting and realigning and moving some of the ley lines. And then there be the ley lines as they shift and progress and like restructure and root, because the ley lines do root into our Earth. The electricity I was feeling from the lightning was activating it. So we got to give it some time, but I do feel that there is a catalyst that happened, right? I do feel like the solar eclipse really opened up not only things for us personally, it really allowed our planet to be vulnerable and exposed to it too. And so with our planet having this going on, it also elevates our own awareness. We also can get a little bit more curious. And then we can also see like, okay, what's going on with the ley lines? And so if you don't know, ley lines are like these invisible lines that form a global network of energy within our Earth. And then they make up like what's called a grid. So there's like a grid system that happens. It's basically like the Earth also has a nervous system, and these lines kind of move through the Earth as its energetic nervous system, and then the lines convey information. And the lines kind of tell us how well the land is doing in those areas. It can give us intel in that way. And it can kind of provide more information about its vibration, what's going on, etc. And so during an eclipse, what's happening is the alignment of the sun and the moon and the Earth, like they create this really powerful gravitational and energetic interplay, which then not only makes the reboot for us, it does the same for the energetic network of the grid lines. Okay. So the hope is, and what I'm hoping, especially for those of us that are kind of crossing the bridges over to the new Earth, we're going to feel that like energy moving through. We're going to feel that like good flow going through. We're going to feel the vibration. We're going to feel more connection to each other, to the planets. I think we're going to continue to take, we're doing a great job for those that are aware and trying to take care of the Earth, but I think more people are going to be aware. And there's going to be more of a feeling of how can I help, right? Another thing that the recalibration of the Earth grid lines invites us to consider is where are we living? What are we doing? Where do we want to be? What's our place within this Earth? So that's something that could come up for you as well. So something to think about also in that space. And then, for you during this time, I really want you to be curious. I really want you to recognize that you are a sacred being in between our universe, our cosmos, and our planet. That you are the one that bridges the gap between something greater and our Earth. That you are someone that is here to respect our planet, help nurture it, but then also yourself as well. It all goes hand in hand. right? And so these times that we're in some ways are unpredictable and can't be completely known. In other ways, we have a lot to look forward to and a lot available to us. And when I say a lot is available to us right now, I really want you to lean into the understanding that the portal is open. You can ask for what you want in an I am kind of way. You can release expectations. You can look to the lessons as being something that is putting less on your plate, is taking away anything that was less than what you needed, and overall giving you less to worry about. So it's less on you and more on the universe to just open up and help you move into that highest path, that highest timeline. And once again, a reminder that as we release our patterns, a more purposeful plan can come into play. Woo, that was a long one for me. Loved it, here for it. If you're curious to talk this out a little bit more individually and see how it specifically aligns to you, check out the one-on-one support session or book a longer astrology reading, and we can talk about it then and kind of forecast you into the next month with Jupiter's juicy moves, what's going on this summer, and also how's this going to tie into the fall, because we have another eclipse cycle happening with that. I love you. Share this out. Thank you for being you. I'm so glad that we crossed the bridge together. If you are a fan of the Danielle Mercurio Show, which I kind of know that you are, then I have something really special that I just launched for you. It's my sister podcast, Unfiltered Universe of Danielle and Reagan. This podcast is a weekly series that is full of unedited content with one of my besties, Reagan Tilton. We talk about the stars, we talk about the sex, we talk about the travel, the rock and roll, the ins and outs of life, dropping little nuggets of wisdom, all in an unfiltered, transformational, beautiful, laugh out loud way. So make sure when you're done listening to this episode, you head on over and look for Unfiltered Universe of Danielle and Reagan. Listen to our pilot episode, rate it 5 stars, get us out there into the